Hey Robert, how you doing, man? We're here. Mikey Garcia's workout against Sergey Lipinets. I feel like a lot of people are kind of maybe underestimating Lipinets just because they don't know his name. You know, he's only has 13 fights in, but he is a world champion. He's a tough guy, undefeated from Russia. Like, you know, when people see this on paper, what do you tell them? Like, hey, this is the real deal. Brackett's going for his fourth title. How do you know?
Look, a lot of people don't know who Lipinets is, and they're thinking 13 fights. Okay, well, maybe not even a lot of experience, but he's a world champion, and he's a junior welterweight. You know, guys that fight a junior welterweight, they probably lose 20 pounds to make weight. Mikey's gaining weight to go and challenge him, so that's a big disadvantage for Mikey. You know, the other thing about Lipinets, I'm sure, because I know I trained with 15 Eastern European guys, and those guys are dedicated. If they get an opportunity, they're going to train their ass off, and I'm sure Lipinets is doing the same thing right now. Lipinets is going to be in the best shape of his life. You know, we're also training hard, and we're also prepared for whatever Lipinets brings. But I think the difference is going to be Mikey's skills. Mikey's skills are those skills that very few fighters are able to do it. You know, move up in weight to 3 or 4 divisions and still dominate. Not because they're big enough to compete against those guys, but because of their skills. Mayweather has done it, Pacquiao has done it, Lomachenko's doing it, and I think Mikey's one of them too. You know, they could move up in weight because of their skills. Their skills beat any of those other talent qualities that the champions have. You know, we can't take him lightly either because he's very strong. Has very, you know, Lipinets is very hard. But I think Mikey's skills is gonna be the difference.
Speaking of that, he would become the the third fighter to win 4 division titles, and starting from featherweight to junior welterweight. So you talked about the skills. He's obviously fought at 140 once before. You've talked about before possibly moving up to 147 for big fights and things like that, or maybe even eventually. Does he kind of have to fill in even still to 140, do you feel? You said he has to gain weight. I mean, you know, is it 140 kind of dominating 140 still a few years away?
Look, me personally, I would prefer Mikey to take his time, and you know, he's only 30, so he's got 10 years if he wants, 10 years left if he wants. I would like him to take his time and eventually even in at welterweight. But personally, I wouldn't want him to think about it anytime soon. Knowing Mikey, it might happen soon. But also, it would also be being careful, picking the right fighters at welterweight. You know, making sure we're not challenging any of those top guys. You know, but eventually Mikey will, and we'll see that maybe sooner than later.
It seems more sooner than later because that seems the kind of timetable Mikey's on now that he's been back.
Right.
Speaking of that, super fights, big fights like that, obviously everyone always talks about Lomachenko, Linares. They're looking at maybe fighting in May. But of those 2 names, when you guys talk about it amongst yourselves, and just a question for yourself as well, is like, well, what does Mikey think? But which one are you kind of like, we maybe want this guy a little bit more just because we want to test our skills against this guy as opposed to maybe this guy? I mean, like, if there's just like a little bit more, maybe this guy more than that guy.
I think Linares has great skills. He's a solid lightweight, maybe even close to being a junior welterweight because he's a big guy, strong, fast. And I would like that fight. I think that's the easiest fight to make. If Mikey has already been, he's already talked to Golden Boy before about that fight. Not lately, because we know that Golden Boy and Top Rank are maybe trying to talk about making that fight with Linares and Lomachenko. So right now, Mike is focused. We're focused on Lipinets. After that, we'll see if the negotiations work out with Linares and Lomachenko, then we're gonna have to find another option. If not, then we'll follow up on maybe Linares first. The only reason I don't say Lomachenko is because I really don't think Aarons is gonna want that fight. Because if it is, I'm sure Aaron will want it to be on ESPN. And we're with Showtime, so it'll be just a hard a hard fight to negotiate and to finish up. That fight with Lomachenko, when it happens, because I think it is going to happen, it's going to be maybe 2-3 years from now when they're both so big and two TV networks will be able to work together because they're both gonna make tons of money like they've done with other big fights. They've done it before and they're very successful. But I don't think right now is the right moment and Aaron knows it. So Aaron's not gonna allow him to come fight on Showtime, and Mikey's not gonna go fight on ESPN. So I think that fight will eventually happen, but three years from now.
And he's time to marinate like Pacquiao Mayweather a little bit. I agree with you. There's definitely two special fighters we'll see in the ring. Thank you so much, sir. Appreciate your time, man.